जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधार्विक गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरन मोहन जू की जय। नित्यानंद प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्यानंद प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शतश्मार भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज शिल प्रभुपार की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शतश्मार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपार शुतर शतश्मार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपार की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट महाभगवत श्री बाबूजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्याल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरीय गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौरमंडल ब्रजमंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदात गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी बिंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। जय श्री चैतन्य शिक्षाष्टक की जय. Is today any special day? Let me just look at the calendar. No. जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय. जय श्री भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर भजन रहस्य की जय. जय श्री निताई गौर जय. Yeah, श्री निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. Okay, we'll do the Mangala Charan and then I will see all who's here. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. श्रीसिद्धान्त सरस्वती विदितो कोडिय गुर्वन्वये भातो भानुरिव प्रभात गगने योगोरसङ्कीर्तनाय मायावारतिमिङ्गिलो दरगतान् उद्धृत्य जीवनिमान् कृष्णप्रेमसुधाब्धिगाहन सुखां प्रादात् प्रभुं तं भजे. वन्दे भक्तिविनोदं श्रीगौरशक्तिस्वरूपकं भक्तिशास्त्रज्ञसम्राजं राधारससुधानिधिं. नमो भक्तिविनोदाय सच्चिदानन्दनामने गौरशक्तिस्वरूपाय रूपानुगवराय ते. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टां स्थापितां येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्. वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. वृषभानुसुतान्वितवामतनुं यमुनातटनागरनन्दसुतं मुरलीकलगीतविनोरपरं भज गोद्रुमकाननकुञ्जविदुम्. स्मर गौरगदाधरकेलिकलं Bhava Gaura Gadadara Pakshachara Shinu Gaura Gadadara Charukatam Bhaja Godrumakanana Kunjavidum Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Devi Tvang Nayamang Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakamaditaranga Madhye Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanarvindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Saruparaya Sangha Harsha Shesha Goshanam Shikshanashtakakya Krishna Kirtanaika Poshanam Prema Nama Matra Vishwa Jivanaika Sambharam Prema Dhama Devameva Nomi Gaura Sundaram Premor Bhavita Harsheryo Dvega Danyarti Mishritam Lapitangorachandrasya Bhagyavarbhirnishevyate Prabhur Shikshashtaka Shloka Jai Pore Shune Krishne Prema Bhakti Tar Bare Dine Dine. Whoever reads or hears the Lord's Shikshashtaka verses will find their Prem Bhakti to Krishna growing more and more each day. Sorry. This is from Bhajana-rahasya after verse 10. Shikshashtaka chinta koro smarana kirtan krame ashtakala seva habe udipan. Contemplate the Shikshashtaka and engage in smaran and kirtan. Gradually, service throughout the 8 divisions of the day, Ashtakala Seva, will be awakened. Shakala anartha jabe pabe prema dhan chatur varga phalgu pray habe adarshan. All anarthas will disappear, and you will attain the treasure of divine love. You'll attain the prem dhan. The 4 aims of worldly life will appear trivial and fade from view. Jai Śrī Śikṣāṣṭaka Ki Jai. Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Gargaraj Ji, Ganga Mataji. I don't know who else is there, Indira Mataji, Seshri Mataji maybe, and all the devotees watching in the future like Revati Didi and Shachi Devi and Jaidev Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. All right, so today we will finally complete our reading of this chapter. We only have like 3 verses left. One thing I just did now, I went to Mayapur yesterday, and when I was in Mayapur, I purchased this Bhajana-rahasya. Look how thin it is. Bhajana-rahasya is actually not so big. It's like super thin. I got this from Chaitanya Mat, and just now, like 20 minutes before we started our program, I decided to use this like a workbook. And so I'm not gonna worry about keeping it all perfect and everything like that. And I I think a lot of people will think this is sacrilegious, but I just started writing in it. Like see, just writing notes like that, just based on what we read like what we went through yesterday. And when I see it like this, it's actually making a lot more sense now. Remember in the beginning when we started, like when we first went over Bhajana-rahasya and I was reading through it, it seemed I said it seems kind of like I couldn't figure out the flow at all. And it's like it seems kind of random how he just keeps on throwing in these verses and like that. But then I mean after we went over the review like the overview yesterday, I started to understand the flow a bit better. Like and now it doesn't seem random at all. Like there's a total flow to it all. And it became all the more clear when I just went through it like this and I was writing notes on the side of the page and highlighting keywords. And then I said, oh, it's super logical and it's very totally flows. Um, yeah, I just like did a 180 on that thought. I think I even mentioned anyways, whatever. I'm talking too much. But I wish I started earlier. I started just 20 minutes or maybe half an hour before the program started just now. Um, and so I didn't get so far, but um yeah, anyhow, I think this is a good system. Like this what we did right we won't I read it sorry we read the first um section pretty much. And then I didn't get the flow at all. And then I really wanted to get the flow. And so then with all of you here, I went through and I tried to give like broad categories to the groups of verses to see how it all fit together. And then after that, after I put in some of my own like a little effort myself, then I asked ChatGPT to do, well, I asked Gemini, Google Gemini 2.5 Pro. I asked to make a summary, an in-depth summary of it. And then yesterday, before we started, I said, like, just make the summary more simple, make it into bullet points, and just prepare it so that it's ready for a class. And so then I was kind of going through that yesterday. And now I'm like, after starting to get the flow better, now I'm going to the original text and I'm looking at it more carefully. And now when I'm looking at it, certain words are just jumping out. Like I see, oh wow, this word is very important. And um yeah, now I see the structure. And so I've just been like highlighting all the key words that really are essential. And now the flow is becoming clear. And so I think this is like a good way of going through something, like a good methodology. First, try on your own to summarize it. Then you can get help of a tool like ChatGPT or any of these LLMs, and then have it break it down for make it simplify it, and then go to the original text again and look through it carefully. And then things will start to jump out, and then you'll get the flow. And then now I think the next stage in this would be if I can explain it in my own words without looking. Then I'll have gotten the flow like really well. Maybe that I'll try to do that tomorrow. Um, yeah. But yeah, basically, okay, so I'll just go through what I wrote on the page here. Um, oh, and Haribol, Ganga Mataji, Vamsiwala Prabhu, Rohini Nandan Prabhu. Yeah, and I already said Gargaraji, right? Yes, okay, Haribol. Um, okay, so first, the chapter begins with Pranam to Gaur Hari. The verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, except Bhaktivinoda Thakur changes the last line. And then he gives this verse from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami's Sachi Sunvashtakam, where Mahaprabhu instructs his Gaudiya devotees to chant Harinam and a fixed number of Harinam. Um, and then it goes into the And in the first verse, he purifies the age of Kali with the astra, what was his weapon was Harinam Sankirtan, and he's doing it accompanied by all his intimate associates. And then those associates continue on our Guru Parampara. So he's Yeah, that's what he's establishing in the beginning. He offers pranam to Mahaprabhu, who came with his associates and established Harinam, the Jivas. And now, what are the glories of that Harinam? So then he gives uh 3, 4, 5, 6, like 4 verses describing the glories of Harinam. Like the first verse was how in Satya Yuga meditation, what you attain in meditation in Satya Yuga, you can get that in Kali Yuga simply through Nam Sankirtan. And then the second verse was it destroys this Nam can destroy more pop than the most poppy person can commit, can destroy more sin than the most sinful person can commit. And then there's a verse about how kirtan is greater than smaranam. Smaranam is very difficult. You can attain perfection over a long time. With a lot of difficulty, you can attain perfection. But with Harinam is very easy. You don't need to put in so much efforts to control your mind and all. You just move your lips. and and then so that's why Harinam's greater than Smaran. And then just through moving your lips, then by that namabas, all these anarthas will be destroyed, and uh you're yeah, like that. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he further explains in his Bengali verse here, he goes, yeah, so Smaran is better than Kirtan, but then Smaran and Kirtan together are better than Archan. And then he gives a verse that says that after 100 births of performing Archan, then you'll be able to chant Harinam. That's like the fruit of 100 births of perfectly performing Archan to Vasudev. Then you'll have the fortune of chanting Harinam. So I didn't get that progression before. It went for Kirtan is greater than Smaran. Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself wrote that Smaran and Kirtan is better than Archan. And then after 100 births of Archan, you attain Harinam. And that only became clear to me when I looked at this. And so one thing that's a bit confusing when we're going through when you see it like this, it's very clear. But like when it's in the book, it says text, it says the text number, it gives a Sanskrit verse, and then there's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali, and then the commentary under that. And the commentary is usually like based on the verse. But lots of times the Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali verses is not about the Sanskrit verse. Lots of times it starts like a new section, even. Um, and so then I was getting confused because I thought that the Bengali was not starting like a new section, but that it was just explaining the Sanskrit verse. And yeah, I don't know how I could fix that in the English though. But when I was looking at it here, I was noticing, oh, okay, wait. No, this is part 3 starts here with the Bengali. And then it moves on like that. So yeah, what I'm saying is like lots of times the Bengali verses is the thing introducing the next section. It's not an explanation of the previous Sanskrit verse. Sometimes it's like that. And it's when you just look at it, just the source text without anything else, it's really clear and simple like that. But anyhow. Um, all right. So then after that, after all the glories of Harinam, now he begins explaining the development from Shraddha to Prem. He's established how Harinam is the best sadhan and how easy it is and all that. And so, okay, now this is and now he's going to explain how this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it relates to the 8 verses of Śikṣāṣṭaka and also to our progress in sadhan all the way up to Prem. And one second. Yeah. Yeah, so then he explains the pairs of Nam, which we went through already. And then he gives the verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which explains that progression from Shraddha to Prem. And in Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bengali verse explaining this Adaushara Tatha Sadhu Sangha, this progression, he mentions some interesting points. Like first, he starts how Sukriti, before we attain Shraddha, there's actually a step before that. We get Bhakti Mula Sukriti. And from that, so from pious activities that are related to bhakti, performed, that we've accrued over many lifetimes, that sukriti, then then a jiva will get shraddha. They'll have faith, and then from that faith, one will one will be able to engage in sadhu sangha. One will be able to associate with sadhus in a real sense, like there's sincerity and eagerness, and they're receptive, and the surrender. Shraddha is synonymous with surrender, so they'll start to feel surrendered. Everything that they say, they'll try to follow the sadhu, and the sadhu will instruct him to perform. He'll give him instructions on bhajan, and also the sadhu or guru will give nam and mantra diksha. And so then after the sadhak gets diksha, harinam and diksha, then he will start to engage in bhajan. And as he engages in bhajan, anarthas will start to be destroyed. And once a certain amount of anarthas are destroyed, then somebody comes to the level of nishta. And he's still engaging in bhajan, this process, and then more anarthas are being destroyed, and more anarthas, and then finally, after a certain amount of anarthas destroyed, then he'll reach ruchi. And then he can still, the anarthas will be destroyed more and more and more and more, and then he'll get to asakti. And then finally at bhav, like almost all the anarthas are destroyed. And there's a really nice chart for that in Madhurya Kadambini. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he explains, there's like, what is it? Ekadesha Vartini, Bahudesha Vartini, Prayaki, and Atyantiki or something like that. These are, let me see if I can find it. I don't even remember what section it is. We made a chart though that shows the progression that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was mentioning. But it's, to the degree of that the anarthas are destroyed, that's how high you rise. But I can't. Oh, wait, I think I found it. Look at this. This is a great chart. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he goes to this in the Bengali verses there. He pretty much just mentions this chart here. The sequence in which anarthas are eradicated. Yeah, this is a really helpful chart. If anybody has this Madhurya Kadambini, it is on page 280. But there's, so at the stage, should I open it up on our screen? That might be helpful. Yeah, okay. So wait, do I have a PDF though of Madhurya Kadambini? Yes, I do. There. Okay. Here, let me share my screen. Page 280. Here it is. Okay, so this is the sequence in which anarthas are eradicated. So eradication of anarthas arising from, so the white, the first one is eradication of anarthas arising from impious and pious activities, dushkritota anarthas and sukritota anarthas. And then the middle one is eradication of anarthas arising from the practice of bhakti. And then the last one, the darker gray one, is eradication of anarthas arising from offenses. Okay, so we see there's like a degree of severity of like, not all anarthas are the same. Dushkrit, anarthas arising from impious activities are easy to destroy, but more difficult to destroy are anarthas arising from imperfect practice of bhakti. And even more difficult than that is anarthas that arise from aparad. So that's what this chart is signifying. But so at the stage of bhajana kriya, then like just before we even reach nishta, then our we almost destroy it's almost complete the destruction of all our anarthas arising from sukriti and dushkriti, pious and impious activities. Almost all of those anarthas are destroyed, says Prayaki, almost complete. But there's just a very small partial destruction of anarthas coming from bhakti and coming from aparad. Imperfect bhakti, I should say. And then at the stage of nishta, all it's complete. It's a complete all the anarthas um, resulting from impious and pious activities and from imperfect practice of bhakti are it's completely destroyed. Um, but it's extensively destroyed at nishta, the ones anarthas arising from aparad. This doesn't make sense. I think this should be up to the top. Anyways, doesn't matter. And then at Ruchi, then there's absolute destruction. So absolute destruction. So why it says complete and what the difference between Purna and Atyantiki is Purna means it's completely destroyed. There are no more anarthas, but there's still a smell of anarthas. So like examples given of if you have um, a bottle of gasoline and you pour out the gasoline from the bottle. There's no more gasoline in the bottle. It's completely empty, but you can still smell the gasoline. So even though it's fully out, all the gasoline, the smell remains. But then at Tiantiki, there's not even a smell. That'd be like you smell the bottle that the gasoline was in, and you can't even smell that there was any gas. You can't tell that there was ever even gasoline in it. So that's the difference between Purna and Atyantiki. Um, see even at the stage of Asakti though, the anarthas arising from aparad are still even at the stage of prem, even at the stage of prem, still the smell of anarthas that are coming from um aparad. And then it's only at the time of Vastu Siddhi, when you attain Bhagavan's association, that there's no more smell of that left. But that's how this aparad never doesn't leave, man. It's like really, it's really serious. That's kind of shocking, actually. Yeah. Anyhow, I'm kind of taking too long with this, but this verse here, after Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes through Adau Shraddha Tatha Sarusanga, the levels from Shraddha to Prem, then he explains that what the chart that we just read, basically, not in full detail though. And so he says that he goes through all the stages, all the way until we get to the stage of Bhav. And he says, and like, wow, we see this, we're up at the stage of Bhav, but then he says, but be careful, because once you get to Bhav, even in any of these stages, even at the stage of Bhav, if you fall into bad association, then you'll start to get a desire for if you a desire for pratishta, and through that you'll there'll be kutinati, and you'll fall down. And so the most essential thing throughout all of this, don't just waste all the progress, like everything that you made, everything that you achieved, just, and then you fall from that position. Don't be careful about asat sangha. And so then he gives two verses from two different places and two Sanskrit verses from two different places that I don't really know about. It's quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilaso. Um, One is, it's better to be burned by fire or imprisoned forever in a cage than to associate with, to be in bad association. It's even better to embrace a snake, a tiger, or an alligator than to be in with materialistic minded people. And it makes sense. I think my Guru Dev would mention this because, like, if you if you die, you get bitten by a snake, you die in a fire, then in your next life you'll just come back to wherever you are at very quickly. But if you get engage in bad association, then all these different, sometimes serious anarthas, aparadhs might even arise, like you might be with, somebody saying the critical things about devotees, and then it will be many lifetimes until you come back to where you were in your, to whatever stage you made it in your sadhana, in your bhakti. It could take many, many, many lifetimes if you make, especially if you make aparadh. And so, yeah, it's better to die in a most horrible, miserable way because it won't take that long. You'll be right back where you were very soon. Um, yeah. So it's pretty logical, actually. Um, and so then, so now we've heard all about the power of Nam, and now even Namabhas will, I mean, Srila Rupa Goswami explains the power of Namabhas. And this leads to the first verse of Shikshashtak. Actually, no, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur goes through this whole thing where he explains the verses of Shikshashtak in detail and how it relates to Krishna's Leela. And yeah, anyhow, that's just what I like. I just got to that point in the like last 20 minutes, but that was all because of that thing that we did with Gemini. So here, I'll just show you. This is what I was looking at yesterday. And as I've mentioned a couple times before, I haven't done like any study of this outside of our program, except for just now I looked at it for like 20 minutes. But other than that, I haven't looked at Bhajana-rahasya. This is everything that I've done with studying Bhajana-rahasya has only been online with all of you. Um, okay. So then it comes to um, okay, so then in the Bengali verse after that, after he explains the power of Namabhas, right? Even a slight appearance of Namabhas, which is like the faint light of the sun before sunrise, when that arises in the heart, it destroys the darkness of great sins. And so one should faithfully perform bhajan of Krishna, the supreme savior, without duplicity or deceit. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he maps out the Shikshashtak, right? He explains how these 8 verses of Shikshashtak charts the course of a devotee's progression in understanding Krishna Lila and performing bhajan. So practice the first verse of Shikshashtakam for some time, then become proficient in the second verse and continue sequentially. Then mature one's bhajan by practicing the first 4 verses. Upon reaching the 5th verse, the practitioner should choose, and I keep on saying I'm going to look into this and I never get around to it. Um, but yeah, um, someone like what we're reading in Harinam Chintamani, they'll start to get some kind of indication, they'll start to feel like know what kind of ras they have with Krishna. Am I, do I have a relationship in Madhuras? Like some indication will start to come, right? And that's what we saw in Jaiva Dharma. And begin to cultivate Radha Padashrai. That's taking shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Radha. And this is the 5th verse of Shikshashtakam. So Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram, when you're praying that I become just a speck of dust at your lotus feet. And he's saying that's when you take shelter of Sri Radha's, you take full shelter of Sri Radha's lotus feet. Then by chanting according to the sixth verse, um, then all anarthas are removed and one attains eligibility for their Siddha Deha. And that's the stage of, what is that? I think that is Asakti, right? Yeah. Then important warning. Trying to conceive of the Siddha Deha without this prerequisite eligibility, if you don't follow the Siddha Pranali, this method of attaining Siddhi of Shikshashtak, then, and you try to conceive of your Siddha Deha before then this will lead to a contrary or distorted understanding due to a lack of spiritual strength. Shaktir abhave. So carefully adhere to this sequence to achieve Siddhi, to achieve perfection. Observe the character and conduct of sadhus to gain pure intelligence, and then by performing bhajan progressively after attaining the Siddha Deha, one effortlessly achieves the bliss of Ashtakala Seva. That's loving service to Shri Radha and Krishna all throughout the 8 time periods of the day. And then this verse that we added to our, these 2 verses that we added to our Mangala Charan, where are they? Did I close it? These 2 verses here. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, contemplate the Shikshashtak and engage in Smaran and Kirtan. Gradually, service throughout the 8 divisions of the day will be awakened. All anarthas will disappear, and you will attain the treasure of divine love, of prem. The 4 aims of worldly life will appear trivial and fade from view. Habe adarshan. Okay. And now he begins Shikshashtak, the first verse. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. And he gives references from other places in Shastra that explain these different levels. First, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, he quotes from Krishna Namashtak 7, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam, few verses, Shreya Kaira Chandrika Vitaranam, quotes from Skanda Puran, Vidyavadu Jivanam, from Gurudar Puran, 2 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, and Srimad Bhagavatam 8.3.20, and Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam, text 23 of Pandava Puran. Saratma Snapanam gives this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the last verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then further glories. Now he's quoting from, so that was the end of his explanation, the verses he's giving to from different places for the first verse of Shikshashtakam. And now further glories from Srila Rupa Goswami's Krishna Namashtak. Then he gives, Rupa Goswami's glorification of Harinam. Then he gives Vedic evidences for Nam Tattva from the Rig Veda, 3 different things from the Rig Veda. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains about how Nam and Nami are not different, and the 3 syllables of Om, which is explained in these Rig Veda verses in his Bengali thing. Then Mahaprabhu gives an instruction to chant Harinam. He gives a quote from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Mahaprabhu instructs everyone to regularly chant Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Iha japa hoite sabe sarvidi. No, what is it? Anyways, that famous verse that they sing on Naga Sankirtan a lot. This chanting leads to all perfection. Sarva siddhi hoy be sabar. And there are no hard and fast rules for chanting it. It can be chanted at any time or in any circumstance. So Mahaprabhu instructs in that way. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Those who continuously chant Harinam with firm faith and determination will quickly attain the fruit of prem. And then some practical instructions, first about the japamala, just, what the japamala should be like. Don't shake your bead bag around, don't drop the beads, all the like practical details like that. And then some internal details for how to chant. So, mana sangharanam, there should be one pointedness of mind. One should fully concentrate one's mind. Then socham, there should be purity, both internally and externally. Then monam, there should be complete silence. You shouldn't get distracted, like talk anything else. When you're chanting Harinam, if you're in the middle of the round, you should save whatever you have to save for after you finish the round, but don't talk in the middle of it, unless it's like Bhagavad Gita. So the monam. And then mantrartha chintanam. When you're chanting, you should be thinking about the meaning of the mantra. If you're chanting your Diksha mantras, you should think of the meaning of all the words in your Diksha mantras, or when you're chanting Harinam, the meaning of the Mahamantra. There's so many explanations of the meaning of Mahamantra, so we should be meditating on that when we're chanting the mantra. Then avyagratam. There should be lack of agitation, calmness. Calm yourself. Be peaceful. And anirveda. And don't give up. Like, there should be patience, steadfastness, freedom from discouragement. Even though it's taking a long time, but still I have faith, there's a feeling of hope. No discouragement, but no, I know this is going to work. And then these qualities are conducive to successful japa. Okay, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Bengali commentary, he gives two practical additions. One is nyas, that's trust or dedication, and prapatti, surrender. So when we chant, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his Bengali that we should have the conviction that the deity of this mantra is my protector. Avashya rakhibe Krishna Vishwas Palan. And isn't that that's the main root of Sharanagati? That's like the most important of the 6 limbs of Sharanagati, right? He also notes that uttering the mantra 10 or 108 times for the pleasure of the mantra devata. So we should do it for the pleasure of the mantra devata. That is also called nyas. And success can come from even one sincere utterance. Okay, so versus nyas, trust and dedication. And then prapatti, surrender. I take shelter of the lotus feet of the mantra devata. Okay, so that's in addition to all these. Versus manas sangharanam, socham, monam, mantrartha chinchanam, avyagratam, and nirveda. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur adds nyas and prapatti. So it's actually, what's that? That's 6, 7, 8. 8 different things for chanting japa. Okay. And then Gopal Guru Goswami gives the esoteric meaning of the Mahamantra, of the meaning of Hara, how she steals Krishna's mind. And Hare Krishna is the divine couple, Radha Krishna together. They're personally present in the mantra. Then Krishna is lotus-eyed Sham Sundar, the son of Nanda Maharaj, the giver of bliss to all the inhabitants of Gokul. He is the eternal master of bliss personified, Sri Radha, and he always yearns to taste happiness in her company. And I think I remember it saying that he always wants her to be happy. He always wants her happiness. Then Rama refers to Radha Raman, he who enjoys, Ramayati, he who enjoys with Radhika. He is Vaidagti Sara Sarvasvam. He is the essence of all cleverness and artfulness and loving affairs. He is the presiding deity of all transcendental pastimes. Okay. Then he gives, this is where we made it up to. Now, finally, we're going to read the last 3 verses. So let's go to this now. We're going to Bhajana-rahasya, chapter 1. What verse is that? 35. Type in 35. There. Okay, so the Brihan Naradiya Puran 38:127 states, Harer Nama, Harer Nama, Harer Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nasteva Nasteva, Nasteva Gatiranyata. In Kali Yuga, there is no other way for the living entity than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Anya dharma karma chari harinama sar kali juge taha bina gati nahi ar. Yes, so giving up all dharma, all duties, all karma, all activities, just Harinam is the essence. In Kali Yuga, there's no other um, there's no other gati, there's no other uh, destination, no other means or anything in Kali Yuga other than Harinam. There's no other way. Now, my Gurudev explains in his Bhajana-rahasya vritti, he says, in Kali Yuga, Swayam Bhagavan Shri Krishna has appeared in the form of his name. Through Harinam, the whole world can be delivered. The words Harer Nama in this text are used 3 times to make people with mundane intelligence become fixed in chanting Harinam. The word Kevala, meaning only, is used to make it extremely clear that Gyan, Yoga, Tapasya, and other activities are to be renounced. Salvation is never possible for one who disregards this instruction of the scriptures. To emphasize this, the words Nasteva, meaning no other way, are repeated 3 times at the end of the verse. And then now text 36 of Bhajana-rahasya, the Bhagavan Nam Komudi, 3rd chapter, states, Naktvam diva chagati virjita nidra eko nirvinna ikshita pato mitabhuk prashanta yadyachute bhagavati Yadyachute Bhagavati Swamano Nasajjen Namani Tad Ratikarani Pater Vilajja. If your mind is not absorbed in the name of Sri Bhagavan Achyuta, then day and night without shyness chant those principal names that are endowed with rati, such as Radharaman, Vrajavalabha, and Gopi Janavalabha. Minimize sleep, eat moderately, and proceed on the path of spiritual truth with a peaceful mind and a disregard for worldly things. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Ratradina unidra nirvagna nirbhoy mitta bhuk prashanta nirjane chintamoy lajatyaji krishna rati uddipaka nam Ucharan kore bhakta Krishna Sakti Kam. Hmm. Yeah, so hmm. Anyways, I don't want to give a translation before I understand it fully. But okay, now text 37. This is the last verse. This is the what is it called? It's called like Kunja Bangali. No, that's not the last verse. 38 is the last verse. Okay. Now from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.22 states, Etavan eva lokesmin pungsam dharma parasmrita bhakti yogo bhagavati tannama grahanadivi. And Haribol, Fuleshwari, Didi, and Zulma. Haribol. Okay, so only the worship of Bhagavan Sri Vasudev, performed through Nam Sankirtan, is called Bhakti Yoga. This alone is the supreme dharma for the living entities. Bhakti Yoga Krishna Nam Grahanadi Rupa Paradharma Nametar Nirnita Swarupa. Then my Gurudev's commentary, he says, only Nam Sankirtan is directly Bhakti Yoga. And in Kali Yuga, it is the only means by which Shri Rajnandan can be controlled. A question may arise here. If sense enjoyment and so forth are easily attained through Nam Kirtan, Why are learned persons teaching karma yoga? The answer is that the intelligence of Yajnavalkya, Jaimini, and other compilers of the Dharma Shastras was often bewildered by Maya Devi. Their minds remained attracted to the beautiful explanations given at the time of the Rig, Yajur, and Samavedas, and they were engrossed in the various kinds of activities by which, with great difficulty, one obtains the insignificant and temporary result of attaining Swarga, the heavenly planets. The topmost dharma is Nam Kirtan, which is easily performed. However, they were unable to understand this. Okay, and now the last verse of the chapter. Here's Kunja Bhangalila. While chanting Harinam, one should remember Krishna's pastimes. It says, Nishante Kirtane Kunja Bhanga Kore Dhyan, Krame Krame Chitta Lagne Raser Vidhan. By remembering and performing kirtan of Nishanta Lila, or also known as Kunja Bhanga Lila, the mind will gradually relish ras. So we know the meaning of Nishanta, right? Nisha means night, and Anta means end. So the end of nighttime pastimes. So right before the sun starts to rise, this is also known as the Kunja Bhanga Lila. So it's the Bhanga means the Bhanga is like destruction or like the ending of the Kunja Lila, of their pastimes in the Kunja. This is when Radha and Krishna have to go back to their homes before everybody wakes up and wonders where the heck are they. So that's Kunja Bhanga Lila. So by remembering and performing kirtan of Nishanta Lila or Kunja Bhanga Lila, the mind will gradually relish ras. My Param Gurudev's Mangala Arati song is so beautiful because it's indicating this Kunja Bhanga Lila, but it's very indirect. He doesn't tell, it's very indirect, but it's so poetic and beautiful, and that's what it is. It's the Kunja Bhanga Lila. It's the most like beautiful Mangalarti song. So then Govinda Lilamrita, first chapter, verse 10 states, what's the meter for this? Ratrante trasta vrinderi tab. No. Okay. Ratyante trasta vrindarita bahuviravai bodhito kshikirashari Padyarhridaya, sorry, Padyarhridyarapi Sukashayanar Uttitoto Sakhibi Drishto Hrishto Tada Tadato Ditarati Lalito Kakati Ghi Shashanko Radha Krishna Satrishna Api Nija Nijadam Nyapta Talpo Smarami. I messed up that meter a lot, but that's the meter. Na 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 na. It's the same as the first verse, like Dashmula Tattva. Okay, so at the end of the night, Vrinda Devi, fearing the approach of day, indicates to Shuka and Sari and other birds to make sweet sounds to awaken Sri Radha Krishna. And we learned that Shuka and Sari doesn't mean the male parrot and female parrot. Shuka just refers to all the parrots, all the male and female parrots, and Sari refers to the Maina birds, right? We read about that before, so that's something we'll need to fix. But so Vrinda Devi, fearing the approach of the day, she indicates to those two groups of birds and all the other groups of birds to make sweet sounds to awaken Sri Radha Krishna. A cool, gentle, fragrant breeze is slowly blowing. With charming calls, the peacocks, peahens, shuk, sari, and cuckoos glorify Sri Radha Krishna's pastimes. They say, O Vrajraj Nandan, O Nikunjeshwari, when will we receive your darshan? Although the divine couple have been aroused by the sweet chirping of the birds, they embrace each other in fear of being separated again. Sorry, they embrace each other in fear of being separated and again fall asleep, weary from amorous play. The more Vrindadevi tries to wake them, the more they drowsily pretend to sleep deeply, for they are reluctant to separate. At that time, the she-monkey, Kakati, loudly cries, "Jatila, Jatila!" and they awaken filled with fear. The meaning of Jatila is, so the monkey, Kakati, she's not actually lying, because Jatila means morning has come, and the sun rays, which look like matted hair, are about to appear. But it can also mean Jatila, Jatila being Radha's mother-in-law, that Jatila is coming. Your mother-in-law is coming. So the Nitya Sakis and Pran Sakis enter the Kunj. These Manjari Sakis help Radha and Krishna to get dressed and put their ornaments in place, thus concealing the signs of their amorous pastimes. After this, they call for the Priya Sakis and Priya Narma Sakis. Then Kishore and Kishori joke with each other, and Lalita performs their arati. Thereafter, they proceed to their respective residences. And now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes the song for this pastime in Bengali. I guess I'll get the Mridanga out and we can sing the song. This is how every chapter of Bhajana-rahasya ends with this lila. Lila Kirtan for that time period of the day. Okay. Adekiya yaruno doi Vrinda sorry Vrinda Devi Vyasta hoy Kunje nana ravakorailo Shukasari padya shuni Uthe Radha Nilamani Sakigan Deki Hrishta Hoilo Kalochita Sulalita Kakatir Rave Bhita Radha Krishna Satrishna Hoiya Nija Nija Grihe Gela Nibrite Shayana Koila Duhe Bhaji Shelila Smariya Elila Smara Ao Gao Krishna Nama Krishna Lila Prema Dhan Pave Krishna Dhama Elila Smara Yar Gao Krishna Nam Krishna Lila Prem Dhan Pave Krishna Dham Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Let's see, does my Gurudev explain this? So Nishanta Lila, the pastime at night's end, is also called Kunja Bhanga Lila because Radha and Krishna have to separate after their night-long pastimes in the Kunj. One second, let me just bring this back. Yeah, so they have to separate after their night-long pastimes in the Kunj. The eager sadhak who remembers and performs kirtan of this pastime will very quickly become eligible for the treasure of Krishna Prem. Thus ends the Pratham Yāma Sādhana Nishanta Bhajan of Śrī Bhajana-rahasya. Let's just look at this kirtan really quick. So I'm just gonna, I'm not good at translating on the fly, but this is, okay. So sing, Vrinda Devi, sing that, that the sun is about to arise. There's Arunodoy and Suryodoy. Arunodoy is when the sky starts to become lighter, and then Suryodoy is when the sun's actually starting to rise, like it starts to become visible. But before the sun becomes visible, it's called Arunodoy. There's like rules for that, like when we how we calculate Akadashi and all those different titis. Some things are Arunodoy, some things are Suryodoy. So seeing the Arunodoy, then Vrinda Devi becomes very busy. Kunje Nana Rava Korailo. She's making she has to arrange all the sounds to be made, all the various sounds of the various birds and various animals and everything to make noise, mainly the birds, I guess, to make noise in the kunja. So then Shukasari Padyashuni. So having heard the songs of Shuka and Sari, Ute Radha Nilamani. Then Radha and the blue sapphire Krishna, they arise. And Sakigandeki Rishtohilo. So then seeing that Radha and Krishna have woken up, then the Sakis become very happy. Okay, they got up. Um, then Kalochita Sulalita. So then very gracefully, very elegantly, or I don't know, that's what I usually think of Sulalita. Um, Kalochita, like at the appropriate time, and very gracefully, very beautifully. Kakati Ravi Bhita. Then by the sound of Kakati, um, then Radha and Krishna become afraid, I'm guessing. Bhita means afraid, right? Or like fear. And Radha Krishna Satrishna Hoya. And then Radha and Krishna, they become so like Trishna is like thirst, right? Longing. Let's just see. And Satrishna means like they have this eagerness. Trish. Thirst, desirous, greedy, like they like this impend like they know that they're gonna have to be separated from each other. And so there's like and so then Nija Nija Grihe Gela, so having gone to their own homes, Nibrite Shayana Koila. They leave that's their sleeping place, their resting place, where they perform those night pastimes. It becomes Nibrita. Nibrita is like abandoned, desolate, right? Nibrita. Oops. Sorry. Solitary, lonely, secluded, retired. Retired. They retire um their hidden place where they slept. Shayan. And so Dunhe Bhaji She Lilas Maria. So worship these, having worshipped these two, worship these two, this divine couple, remembering this pastime. Remember this pastime and chant Krishna Nam. E Lila Smara Ar Gao Krishna Nam. Then Krishna Lila Prem Dhane Pabe Krishna Dham. And then you will attain the treasure of Prem, of Krishna's Leelas, in Krishna's own Dham, and within the abode of Krishna. All right, so that's our program for today. Sorry, I don't like translating things on the fly like that. But all right, we already sang Mahamantra, so I'm just going to do short Jaidvani, and then that's our program for today. जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मरण मोहन जू की जय जय श्रील गुरुदेव की जय श्रील परम गुरुदेव की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री रूपानु गौरिय गुरु वर्ग की जय स्वपार्षद श्री गौर नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय श्री गौर गदाधार जू की जय जय श्री Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Abhinna Vrindavan Shri Navadip Dham ki jai, Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gan ki jai, Jai Shri Jai Shri Bhajana-rahasya ki jai, Jai Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai, Bhajana-rahasya ki jai. Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Par ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Chaitanya Charitamrita and Govinda Lilamrita ki jai. Right, we just read from his Govinda Lilamrita. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Śikṣāṣṭaka ki jai. Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari ki jai. Shri Krishna Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagat Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatharani Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, and there are 11 people on YouTube and Facebook. I only see the names of those who wrote comments though, so Dandavat Pranams, Gargaraj Ji, Ganga Mataji, Vangshiwala Prabhu, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Fuleshwari Didi, and Zulma, and all the other devotees, I'm guessing Indira Mataji or Seshwari Mataji, and devotees watching in the future like Shachi Devi, Revati Didi, Jai Dev Prabhu, and all others. Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for joining. And tomorrow we will begin. No, we're not going to read from this book tomorrow. We'll read it from this book in a few days probably. But we're going to begin verse 2 of Śikṣāṣṭaka. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. And we will read from my Gurudev's edition of Śikṣāṣṭakam. And then afterwards, we'll also read the original Bengali of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur first, so the Sanmodan Bhashya, and then the Vivriti of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So that will be our program. Wow, we've been doing this first verse of Śikṣāṣṭakam, been now doing it for 26 days. So now day 27, we'll begin verse 2. But we'll see. But I don't think verse 2 will take as long as verse 1 took. And Hare Krishna Madhubala, Haribol. Madhubala? Okay, Haribol. All right. Thank you so much for joining. See you all tomorrow. Is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today?